Welcome back to Nightcap Chat, episode 10, our E3 recap. Today we're talking the Google Stadia, Xbox, PC Pass, Halo, Final Fantasy VII, Jedi Fallen Order, Avengers, Pokemon, and more. I'm Blade O'Neill.
I'm Lance O'Neill.
And man, E3 ended just a few days ago, and it was, I don't know, in my opinion, probably one of the best set of E3 presentations ever, between getting some new console releases. We got a release date and look at the Final Fantasy VII remake, which is probably one of the most anticipated games ever. A new Pokemon game, a new Avengers game by Square Enix. There's just a lot of good stuff. Let's start with the Stadia. I know you were pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's actually kind of frightening. I almost hope it fails, just because it might mean everything has to change. You know, sometimes you just don't like change, but it might be a good change, because it seems like everything's going to be better from a gaming standpoint. But I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to figure out, you know, do you want a console, or do you want to just literally have this thing that's basically free? You just do it on Google Chrome, where you pay $9.99 a month, and you get 4K gaming at 60 frames that no console's done before. And
for those of you who don't know what the the Google Stadia, I think I'm pronouncing that right, is essentially a home console without having the home console. It just streams through Google Chrome.
Yep.
So whether you do it on your PC, or I think there's a way they're saying you can use your Chromecast and a Xbox controller or something, and you can just
So basically anything that you can get access Google Chrome on, you can play it on. So and that's why their Founders Edition, which is I think $130, comes with a Ultra Google Chromecast, right? Yeah. You just plug that into your TV, get on Google Chrome, and play on your TV. And you know, they said you can run up to 60 frames at 4K as long as you have a connection of 35 megabytes down.
Which is easy.
Which is so easy to get. Literally anybody who has a decent internet connection is going to get that.
So the only thing I really felt could be problematic is not owning the games part, but can you purchase games?
You can purchase. So there's a couple of things you can do. You can purchase the game, and then it's just basically you pay your $60 for your game, but it's only on, no different than a PlayStation or Xbox. It's only on your Stadia account, I guess. And the big thing is, when they first announced it, it was like, okay, well, what games are you guys even going to have? And then on their initial launch, a little trailer that they just had, they were saying games that are about to come out. They're saying Destiny 2. They have all these big name games, and these big companies are just going right ahead and just going with them. And it's kind of crazy that a console not a console, I guess a streaming service like this is just going to instantly have basically any game you're going to want.
Gaming is, this next generation seems to be going to have the option to kind of have a Netflix style to it.
Right.
And, when they were first talking about the Google Stadia, whatever, everyone was wondering, what's PlayStation 5 going to do? What's the next Xbox going to do? Is the next Xbox was more or less unveiled at this year's E3, just with that code name, was a Scarlett, I think it was. But they went ahead and said that you can stream through it. So, but it could more or less act like a server. So it remains to be seen whether you do actually need a console for this new Xbox service, because they announced that PC Pass, which also works with the console pass, and you're able to access your library from anywhere. And they already showed an example of people using of the streaming, but they made an interesting point. The new Xbox Scarlett can work as a server,
right?
Instead,
I think it's probably going to come down to, I feel like they're trying to do more of a convenience thing, where it's like you can play this on your computer, but not everyone can afford a $1,400, $1,500 computer that runs really well. Or you can buy their console, which they're saying their console is going to run just like Stadia, whatever you guys want to call it, at 4K at 60 frames. So there's Xbox 2 or whatever they're so I guess it's just, hey, if you don't have a computer that can run our games that well, you have this, I guess, cheaper option, depending on how expensive that's going to be, to get our console as well. And it's interesting also that, PlayStation has said that their console is going to be 4K 60 frames as well, but they really they were really quiet during E3. They didn't have a panel. They didn't say a word.
They didn't have anything. The only thing that I saw an article, and I think it's confirmed, is that they are going to have PlayStation 4 backwards compatibility. And for those people who are transitioning, it's going to be cross-platform between PS4 and PS5 in the beginning. So my personal opinion is that even though the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Scarlett might have the same streaming service and capabilities as the Google Stadia, I think the advantages they're offering is going to be a hybrid of, how consoles have been for the last 10, 15 years, as well as the next generation being able to just stream your games. Yeah. Because you're going to want to access your back catalog of games. And I think that's what they're banking on. Yeah, is the backwards compatibility of it.
They really I know Microsoft and PlayStation are probably pretty worried about it. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Honestly, I think PlayStation didn't say anything and didn't want to announce anything because I think they were just waiting to see exactly what both of them were going to announce, and then they're going to make up their mind. Because I feel like with Xbox and PlayStation, every year it's like, well, I'm going to come out with this. What are you going to come out with? Okay. And it's always the same thing. It's just a different brand. One or the other was never like really better. They always had, we're going to give you 1080p at 30 frames. We're going to give you, now we're going to do 60 frames. And they always kind of did the same thing. And now there's this third party who's all of a sudden completely changing it. Now
third party, but not a third party. It's freaking Google.
Yeah, it's Google.
So they should be worried.
Right. So it's this huge company that's coming out with their own console that seems like it's going to take over. So they're like, well, let's stop holding our punches and just throw out 4K gaming with 60 frames as well. Because it seemed like they were trying to every year not every year, but every generation of console, they were trying to do like the minimum to like advance and get the most bang out of their buck from their consoles, which, it's fine, you're a company, but this, I feel like, kind of made them have to catapult what they're offering a lot more. Because they're saying that now the Xbox at 1080p can do 120 frames.
Well, not only that, but they, for the last generation, like they promised that it was scalable to 4K, which was true, not true, like whatever. Like even though the PlayStation and Xbox One S or whatever have the 4K capabilities, 4K should be the standard now. Right. 4K TV is the standard. They're not thousands of dollars anymore.
Did you notice though what Xbox? Because I know it's just like one of those dumb things they throw in there. They're saying that the next Xbox console will be able to do 8K gaming, and it's just like, okay. Now, all right, great, yeah, here we go. Now we're just babbling.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 4K is the standard. You can get a 4K TV right now for like $300. Like there is no point in getting a 1080p TV anymore.
And something in case you guys are kind of into gaming or not super into gaming. If you guys have a TV and you want to play one of these games, and you're like, hey, I want to play, I'm so excited to get the Xbox 2 or whatever and play my games in 1080p at 120 frames. You also have to make sure that your TV or your screen can do the 120 frames. So don't think that you're just going to get 120 frames. If your screen can't do it, you're not going to get it. So just be aware of that.
Luckily, we're in the age where the 4K TV, even just a 32 or you can get actually a 55 TV, 55-inch TV for about $400 that does 4K.
Yeah, I got a really cheap one downstairs in my room. It was 50 inches, 4K, and it was a smart TV, and it was like $320.
Yeah, they're ridiculously cheap.
Yeah,
and you can get those little cheap Roku ones, those 32-inch ones for a little over $100 or something.
Yeah.
It's
4K. You can even get gaming screen gaming monitors. Sorry,
gotcha.
You can get gaming monitors that run 144 frames. 1080p for a good $150 too.
Yeah, and it just depends on what you want to do.
One other thing I wanted to talk about though with the Stadia is the fact that they were talking about it's a streaming service, so this is also using up data.
Oh,
right, because you're not.
That's a lot because just online gaming takes up a lot.
Right, and so this isn't just you just playing online with friends. This is you running the game through Google servers. So anything that you're doing is now it's not being run off of your own computer. It's being run off of Google. So they were saying that if you are playing 4K gaming with the Stadia, you will use up 1 terabyte of data in 65 hours of gaming.
Wow.
So just something to denote if you guys are interested in getting this, that if you do have a service that you don't have unlimited data for
most services don't,
right. Anymore. Most of it is 1 terabyte and that's all you get. Usually that's the base, right? You get 1 terabyte and usually you have to ask for more after that.
We had to switch to unlimited. You know.
I had to get 2 terabytes. So just something to be mindful of, like 1 terabyte, you're like, oh, I probably will do 6. I don't know if I'll do 60 in a month, but even if you do half of that, that's 500 gigabytes. So the rest of your house has to do only 500 to do streaming services and everything else.
Which your phone, and your Netflix, and your really YouTube, quick. And your Pandora. You know, it's going to, especially for those of us who have cut cable, like we use a lot of data, and for these scummy, ISPs, there's data caps now. So, if you are a cable cutter, you probably have been considering switching to any unlimited plan available anyway. But, I kind of hope that if this is successful enough, that Google continues to expand their own internet option. Because I hate Cox. They're really scummy. I would switch to Google's internet service in a heartbeat. But the biggest thing that came off of following the new Xbox, semi announcement was the next Halo game. And I know a lot of people were excited. And honestly, I used to love Halo, but I'm not really sure why everyone was so hyped. Because, wasn't the last game Halo 4? There hasn't been anything since then, right?
Besides the remastered, Master Chief Collection.
I don't really count that.
Right,
and I was really excited for Halo 4 because, Halo 3 was great. And, they kept the Halo 3 multiplayer going with...
ODST.
It was the ODST, and then they did it again, right? In Reach, is that correct? Wasn't it still that same? Regardless, Halo 4 sucked, and I felt like I was just playing Call of Duty in space, and I don't know why they changed it.
I didn't really even like Halo Reach or 4. I didn't really like either of them, to be honest. In my opinion, it died after Halo 3 ODST. Really? Halo 3 ODST was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. It just seemed like an expansion from Halo 3,
I agree.
That's all it really, I guess, basically was. But I am honestly, as someone who feels like Halo is one of the greatest games of all time, hands down, like it should be in everyone's top 5 kind of a thing, or top 3. I really do not care about this trailer at all. It didn't show me anything. It's like, oh great, yeah, Master Chief.
It was like the same intro of the first one. Like it kind of felt like,
show me some gameplay that promises it's going to be like something like Halo 2 or Halo 3 and cool. But it didn't do anything for me. I honestly didn't really even care.
I think my biggest problem was I played more Call of Duty back when Halo 4 dropped, and I didn't want another Call of Duty multiplayer. I wanted a Halo multiplayer. I wanted new Halo maps and new Halo gameplay.
Halo is completely different than Call of Duty. It's a completely different play style and everything.
I know, but I felt like Halo 4, I felt like it was trying to do Call of Duty. It's just like 2 shots, you're dead. Like I missed having the health bar. Like it's a different kind of, team shooter,
right.
When you have an actual health bar that Call of Duty, when just, it's 2 shots and you're dead, or 1 headshot, I don't know. I enjoyed it. And it really like gameplay like that for team shooters. It reminds me of the GoldenEye days, right. Like there's a health bar, as friends, you have more than just you're shot and you're dead.
Right.
Someone
turns the corner and that's it.
Yeah. It's a different kind of strategy, and like, sure, like that has its place, but like, I wanted that out of Halo, I wanted to keep, and that's what, to me, made it great.
Yeah, I agree. They just need to, I guess they kind of need to reboot it and hope it works. I don't know. I'm not going to get an Xbox for this. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what they're thinking, but I got an Xbox 360. I didn't even have an Xbox. I had a GameCube before Xbox 3. I had an Xbox 360. The only reason why I bought Xbox 360 because I wanted to play Halo.
Interesting.
That's literally the only reason. They got me to buy a console just based on that. Yep. And then when they ruined it, I went to PS4 because you weren't offering me anything that PS4 wasn't.
Yeah, when they were threatening the always online, always having a camera connected, and I was like, no thanks. And the last Halo game sucked. So you're not keeping me loyal here.
And at the time, PlayStation had Kingdom Hearts, and I was like, well, I'll get it for Kingdom Hearts. And then right after I bought it, they're like, oh, well, it's going to be for both Xbox and PlayStation, but whatever. It's okay.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, they just had no exclusives to keep me loyal there. But I mean, now with their new service, for $10-14 a month, not only does it come with the Xbox Live, but you can access, the Microsoft games on your PC even. That's tempting. If there's the right game, I might consider signing up for something like that.
That does have some weight to it, that's for sure.
Especially if you have a PC or something, like you can hook up your Xbox controller to your PC anyway. You effectively have an Xbox at that point.
Yeah, I have a Scuff controller, so I'm just hooked that up to my PC, and that's it.
So one of the biggest things coming out of E3 this year was, of course, Final Fantasy VII. We got a trailer a few weeks ago, but we got even more. We got gameplay, we got a new trailer, and we got a release date of March of 2020. So we're less than a year away now.
2020 was like the thing of this E3.
Yeah, 2020.
Everything 2020.
March 2020. May 2020. But it's my wife's favorite game, the old Final Fantasy VII. She absolutely loved it. I haven't played it. I think I'm actually going to do my first playthrough of Final Fantasy VII starting tomorrow because I like turn-based fighting. And I was almost disappointed that it was like that hybrid, and I know that's kind of what they've been leaning toward.
Well, that's what Final Fantasy 15 was.
I know.
And Final Fantasy 15 was an amazing game. Love that game.
I just don't want everyone to... I'm just afraid everyone's going to turn away from turn-based fighting, and I'm going to be sad.
Well, turn-based fighting is something that's definitely, I feel like, underrated and something only a couple of games have really done well with. Like, obviously, like Pokemon is basically the standard, that's where you want to be. It's one of the greatest games of all time.
I mean, Pokemon and like, JRPGs, like Final Fantasy VII, like things like that.
But like games like The Third Age, Lord of the Rings, The Third Age, and the other Lord of the Rings game that's escaping me.
The War in the North, was it? Or no, that wasn't turn-based fighting.
That wasn't turn-based, but that was an RPG, and that was a great game. But anyway, that game, Third Age, was one of the best games I feel like I've ever played. And it was a turn-based game. There was so much to do. It was a good game, and it's very underrated. Mm-hmm. But I feel like some of the turn-based games just don't get their fair share of like, hey, this is really good, because that game didn't get good ratings. Like if you look on it online, it doesn't have great reviews, and I just think it's something that the general public doesn't really get. I think
a lot of people, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but it's going to sound disrespectful, have the the intellectual capacity for the turn-based fighting. They just want to hack and slash, and they don't want to sit here and strategize. But like I enjoy that.
Right. I enjoy the strategy too. I like games that have a lot of strategy involved in it.
And sure, it slows down the pace, if you will, but like it's it's a more meaningful fight than like, should I push triangle or should I push square?
Yeah. But unfortunately, companies have to cater to what the general public. That's why every other game right now is, we're going to do battle royale, everything. Battle royale this. Battle royale
you
that.
Like Fortnite? Try our Fortnite.
With chickens.
I did really like that.
Realm Royale is great.
I don't know if it was the fantasy aspect of it, but I really enjoyed it.
They just need to take the bots out of the game.
Yeah, that's disappointing, but they probably had their reasons for that.
Yeah, I know.
So one of the things I'm most anticipating, I think it's coming out 2020, right? Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
The release date is kind of escaping me right now. I guess I can Google it real quick. What, you're not impressed?
No.
Why?
There was nothing impressive about that.
Are you kidding me? Oh, November 15th.
Which is
so it's coming out
2019.
Soon. Yeah.
Which means they don't have much time to do what I think really needs to be done with the game. So here's the thing that concerns me the most. I don't really care too much about the graphics. I am one of those people that I will play a game. If it's a good game, I don't really care if it's great graphics or not. Obviously, you don't want something fuzzy and just that doesn't look good. Mm-hmm. But I don't care if it's, a cartoon type game style, a fantasy type thing, or it's just hyper realistic. It doesn't really matter. As long as it's a good story and it's a good game, and it goes well. The problem that I have is when I was watching the gameplay, they try to make it very apparent that, hey, the person that's playing this game is like an expert. Like this guy's like really good. And I'm like, all right, well, this is going to be cool. Like, I'm so excited for this game. And I'm watching gameplay and it's like one of the most boring things I've ever seen.
You think?
It's just very lame. Like, I felt like he was walking up to stormtroopers and the stormtroopers wouldn't notice him. Like a guy with a lightsaber.
I did notice that.
He had to get up in their face and they're like, oh, and then they would take a shot once every like 4 seconds. It just didn't feel like I was watching a Star Wars thing. Like, it felt like I was watching someone play a game on like very easy mode.
I think that was it, because there was one point where there was a scout trooper and he literally didn't move till he was like right there. And I was like, why isn't he moving?
And then there was other things.
I think they did that intentionally just to get the recording done.
Well, is he just not that good then? Because I feel like if you're an expert, you should be able to play it on like hard and destroy and do these crazy things.
I think they were just playing it safe. They didn't want him to mess up and have to start the recording all over again.
They literally lost my interest 100%. I'm not interested in getting this game at all now.
I'm interested.
And we're
going to see the droid attack on the Wookiees.
And the other thing I didn't like was, and I know they did say that some of the moves that he was doing takes a lot of buttons, like a lot of combos, I guess, to do. But like when you're doing like the typical Jedi, shooting the bullets back at the stormtroopers, it seemed like it was just auto aimed. Like you would just hold a button and it would select a stormtrooper and you just had to sit there and just wait for the bullet to come and it just bounced back and hit him. Like there was nothing to, like, I just want, if you're doing something like that, we're in a day and age that you can make it a little more complicated where, I might miss, or, I just want a little more skill involved. It just seemed like there wasn't much skill to the game and it was very just slow and boring.
I guess we'll see. I thought there were some fun things.
I personally didn't care for it, and it doesn't help. Like I said, I I don't care about the graphics, but the graphics weren't impressive at all. And I know they said it was an alpha test. So
I saw that. The graphics did seem subpar for something of that caliber.
When the last 2 Star Wars games the graphics were Battlefront and Battlefront 2, great, amazing graphics in both those games, and then you put out like a Star Wars game that has like not good graphics at all.
I mean, it's the same people. Like the graphics in the final, I'm sure will be fine.
But again, it is an alpha, so I mean, it's not even beta. So I get it if they said they're going to polish it more, but I'm not really a fan of it.
I think it'd be good, and it's a fun story and a fun era. Like it seems like the prologue will be like just before Order 66, and then Order 66 is going to happen, and then like the whole game is going to be you as a Jedi or a Jedi Padawan that survived the Order 66 attack, and like what's that going to be like? And it's not something that hasn't been explored, because I know they did a little bit of that with Kanan in the new Dawn novel, but it seems like one of the villains is going to be the 12th Sister, which is one of the Inquisitors the Inquisitors we saw in Star Wars Rebels, but I think I'm the guy in the number right, the 12th Sister. She just recently appeared in one of the Darth Vader comics. So this character is getting, some appearances in different mediums now. Like I have hope. I mean, I shouldn't have hope because of how EA has been handling things, particularly Battlefront. But I will say the best thing about Battlefront 2 was the story. I really enjoyed the story.
That was about it.
Yeah, but the story was the best part.
Right.
Because the multiplayer sucked. Like,
multiplayer was actually terrible. I don't know how they messed that up, because all you had to do is give me Battlefront 1 with the content that you gave me in Battlefront 2. That's all you had to do. Because Battlefront 1 was a fun game to play. We played countless and countless hours. It was just, there was 6 maps and there was 4 people to play as, and it was getting kind of boring. And even with the DLCs, it just wasn't enough. And then they were like, we'll give you all the content. We're like, yeah. And then it's terrible gameplay. Okay, well, I'm done.
Yeah, that was disappointing. But, Iden Versio, super cool character. I'd love to even get my hands on some Inferno Squad armor. The tie novel was really good too. But anyway, we'll see what happens with Jedi Fallen Order. I'm not sold yet.
I'm not sold at all.
So I think you were more excited about Borderlands coming out. I've honestly only played a little bit of Borderlands 2.
Borderlands, great. Borderlands 1 was one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah.
It was right there with Halo, and it came out, a little after I think ODST came out. But I love RPGs. RPGs to me are so much fun, especially when it's random loot. They said this one has 1 billion guns. I
did like the RPG aspect of Borderlands 2. I thought that was pretty neat.
And the other thing that's cool is it's always split screen. It's always a couch co-op game. And it's one of the few games that will still be like, okay, we'll still do a couch co-op for you.
Definitely don't have enough of that.
Yeah, and I love Borderlands 1. Borderlands 2 to me was okay. I felt like they were just trying really hard to be Borderlands 1. Just as far as like they were trying really hard with like jokes, and I felt like they were kind of stretching it.
Kind of like the Secker Pirates movie.
Kind of, yeah.
Why is the rum always gone? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, never heard that joke before.
Yeah, right, exactly. But this game, honestly, I feel like I was watching some gameplay and obviously the trailers. It seems like it's a next generation game. So like as far as from Borderlands 1 to Borderlands 2, it seemed like you gave me the same exact game, but you were just trying to recycle like same jokes and stuff, but you didn't really upgrade any of the shooting or any of the gameplay. It just kind of seemed like the same console.
I see what you're saying, but we were just complaining that they changed it between Battlefront 1 and 2.
Right. But this actually looks good. It feels good. It feels different. That's the thing that I feel like, because this game style and the game graphics, I guess, is very like a comic booky, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, because it has like that kind of like cell shaded style, I guess you'd call it.
Everyone has like outlines, so it almost looks like everything's a drawing kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And this one, with the gameplay, it's just so crisp and clear and polished, and it seems like they're taking a step in the right direction. And I feel like the game's going to be a big hit. And they were saying how, I don't know if anyone's ever played the Borderlands games, but typically there's different guns, right? And there's millions of guns. This one has said they're going to have a billion guns. They have guns with legs and all this other crazy stuff.
What do you mean billions of guns? Like
they're literally going to have billions.
But how is that even possible?
So when they say that, there might be like 1,000. Let's say there's 1,000 different guns, right? But there's going to be guns that some do corrosive damage, some do fire damage, some do electric damage. So there's different elemental effects to each gun. Some just don't have any elemental effects. So I'm assuming that's what they're counting when they're doing that. So each gun is going to have 8 different variations of that one gun. You understand?
And then some of it's cosmetic, or
yeah, some of it's cosmetic. Some of it's going to be, it's just the stats and everything. And obviously there's sniper rifles, shotguns, assault rifles, submachine guns, and all that stuff. So there's a lot of different types of guns, rocket launchers. But the cool thing, if you ever played, was they were saying how you're going to have guns now that have 2 different types of damage. So one might have corrosive and fire, which if you've ever played, some people that you're fighting, almost like Pokemon, are more susceptible to fire damage and more susceptible to lightning damage. And you can only carry a certain amount of guns. So sometimes when you're in a fight and you're out in the middle of somewhere, you're like, oh, I don't have my fire gun on me right now. So this sucks because I can't really do much damage to this guy. It's going to give you a little more flexibility when you get into certain fights to do extra damage to certain players. So that's something that I thought was really cool.
I see. I mean, I assume like I'm one of the few people who, when they were showing that trailer or the gameplay or whatever it was, and tell me if I'm getting my games mixed up right now, because they were talking to one of these girls and like, there can only ever be, was it 6 sirens at one time? And I used to be one of them. No, that's not Borderlands.
Maybe I'm Borderlands does have sirens. Yes.
Yes. So yeah, well, that whole thing, I thought it was kind of interesting. And like I said, I played very little of Borderlands 2, but it just seemed like an interesting concept, just even not knowing too much about it. I don't know. I'm certainly interested in trying it out.
If you haven't played, I would say if you haven't played, but I do know Borderlands 2.
Yeah, Borderlands, only 6 sirens can exist at any given time as revealed by Handsome Jack.
Borderlands 2, the Handsome Jack collection.
Yeah.
Do you have that one, or do you just have Borderlands 2?
I have no idea.
Okay, well, right now it's free on the PlayStation Store.
What?
PlayStation Plus, that's the free game of the month. Is Borderlands 2, the Handsome Jack collection, comes with every DLC in Borderlands 2. I actually just added it to my library. I already have that game, but I just added it to my library so I can just download it.
Huh.
So if anyone's interested in playing it, and if you're kind of interested in Borderlands 3, Borderlands 2 is it's going to have very similar play styles. If you haven't played Borderlands 1, then just play Borderlands 2. Borderlands 1 was amazing. And it has a lot of DLCs. There's a lot of game to it. It's funny. It's fun. It's something you can play couch co-op. So you don't even have to get it, for more than 2 people. But if it's free, now you can play it with a buddy now, no matter what. So it's great. So you should try it out.
I just feel like it was hinting at like a deeper mythology, and I thought that was pretty cool. I like the mythology of different things. So I mean, that's kind of
their storyline's very solid. That's one thing I'll give them.
I'll probably try to pick it up again maybe before the next one comes out. But one of the games that has some backlash for the graphics or the looks, if you will, is the Square Enix Avengers game.
Yeah, I don't
understand what everyone's complaining about. You know what? What I don't understand is why everyone's comparing it to the MCU costumes. That's not the point.
I don't really get that. This has nothing to do with the MCU. MCU is its own universe. That's why it's called the cinematic universe. It's its own universe.
And as a matter of fact, we don't want a Marvel Cinematic Universe video game because look at all those ones that came out, like the Captain America game and Iron Man. Those suck.
I love Marvel, and I didn't even play a demo of any of those games. I didn't even bother. They just look terrible.
We all know there's not been a good movie video game since Spider-Man 2
or Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings games were pretty fun. The Two Towers and
those were all around the same time. Yeah, those were some anomalies.
Those were pretty good. Everything after that was terrible.
Man, I want to play that again now.
Which one?
Any of them.
Yeah, they're good. Although if you're gonna play Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man's amazing. There's no point.
I have it. I just haven't started.
I don't know. You should. Once you start it, you're not gonna want to stop.
Okay.
But anyway, we're getting off tangent. Yeah, I don't understand with the costumes are fine. The only thing I don't like, I know you agree with me, is Captain America and Black Widow they just look kind of weird, and it doesn't look like
I said, like they look like they're cosplayers. Yeah, and it's not they look like good cosplayers. Like their costumes are really good, but Steve's face, he looks like some guy wearing Captain America's costume. And the same thing with Natasha. Like to me, they don't have a very Steve and Natasha face. Like Tony Stark to me was fine. Bruce Banner, he was kind of.
But who cares? It's just what's the Hulk look like? Nobody cares what Bruce Banner looks like.
But you know what? To me, the Hulk looked like the MCU Hulk.
Yeah,
completely. But
I mean, it's how many ways you make
the giant guy. Yes, you're absolutely right. I don't understand they're ripping him off. Like it's Bruce Banner wearing a purple shirt. Like he's wearing a purple shirt because Hulk always wears purple pants. That's what it's a reference to. Like stop being like it's ripping it off. Like it's the same thing.
The thing I don't get was it got ripped for that, but Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which we'll talk about a little bit later, people were just like saying how, it's cool that you have like all the classic comic costumes, but then like people are saying that they have problems with the way these costumes. It's fine. Honestly, I was kind of worried that Square Enix was gonna make everything look too anime because they do nothing but they do a lot of Final Fantasy stuff, and I was kind of worried we're gonna have Captain America with purple spiky hair. And I was just I was glad to see that everyone looks kind of normal.
I wouldn't want him with purple spiky hair, but if they did do it a Final Fantasy style, I think I would be okay with trying that if it was really well done.
I just didn't want it to look like the manga comics, like the Marvel manga comics. I just didn't want it to look like that.
Yeah, no, I understand, but Square Enix has some wonderful graphics. They handled Tomb Raider just fine. I wasn't expecting any anime nonsense.
One thing I will say though, I didn't know it was Square Enix until
this
E3. I thought it was Square Enix.
Me too.
And then they kept saying Square Enix, and I'm like, what? Are they saying it wrong? And then they said it again. I was like, okay, maybe I'm saying it wrong this whole time.
I know. I'm so glad you said that because I literally had that same exact revelation because I was like, oh, their announcer screwed up, and then they kept saying it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been wrong this whole time.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know how it's past me.
This whole recording, I have been going out of my way to say Square Enix instead.
I've noticed you've been saying it, and I'm thinking to myself, has he known and I haven't?
No, I'm so glad you said that because I swore it was Square Enix too. You know what? I think Square Enix still sounds better, but I'm gonna do the right thing.
Right. But as far as the gameplay, I know they didn't really show anything. It was more of a trailer, but in that trailer you could tell that there was a little gameplay.
There was gameplay, which is what we saw in the
what we saw in the leaks video. Yes, that we did see online, and the gameplay looks great. And from everything that I've heard from people who have played it, they said the gameplay is actually amazing. Everyone feels different, which is the biggest thing. Is that you're playing as Iron Man, and it feels like I'm playing as Iron Man. I'm playing as Iron Man, but it's like the same thing as Thor, but it's just I'm just doing different things. They said everything feels different.
Kind of like Overwatch. Like I'm playing Pharah, I'm playing Junkrat, I'm playing Reinhardt.
Which is exactly how it should feel. And they're saying how Thor feels really great to play. It feels like you're playing God of War, which is an amazing game in itself.
That's a great comparison for Thor.
Right. And, you know, the only concerns that really people were that I heard of was that they're worried about like the story. And to me, from the trailer, the story is the one thing I really don't care about. I just wanted to see more gameplay. So to me, this sounds like it's going to be a great game. And Square Enix they're such a good company, you know that, and Crystal Dynamics, who's doing it, they're probably going to do a really good job. They both handled
Tomb Raider, and we've had 3 really good Tomb Raider games. So I'm completely not worried about that.
They have my money.
And the story to me, like they're only showing you how this is starting off. Like there is something else going on. And we've already got Taskmaster as probably like one of the starting villains who's like a pawn to some kind of overarching enemy. And we know we have DLC coming out with more heroes and stuff like
free
DLC. Most importantly, I don't even care what the story is as long as it's good gameplay. I don't care if it's Ultron. I don't care if it's Loki. I don't care if it's Thanos. It's probably not going to be Thanos.
Probably not. Which is good, honestly.
Yes,
there's just a lot of it.
You know what? I would like to see him again if this franchise kicks off. I would like to see that for a third Avengers game that Square Enix does.
Yeah,
like let's start with Loki, Ultron. I mean, I know those were the 2 movies. Yeah, I mean maybe Galactus, but like to me, Galactus doesn't make sense because you feel like this Avengers Day. This A-Day event that's going on
is a little smaller.
You know what it is? Yeah. I bet it would be someone like Dr. Doom because they're probably want to push that agenda a little bit with the newly acquired Fox rights, and that would be cool. And you know why? Like at this point, with the way the Marvel Cinematic Universe played out, like we're not going to have a Dr. Doom story with Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. So let's get it here with Captain America and Iron Man and Natasha.
What a waste.
Yes, you know, it's disappointing for sure, but like let's do something fun and cool like that, I think. Right?
Yeah, I agree. I hope it's someone, I guess, on a smaller scale, but you know, yet interesting. Galactus would be cool, but it doesn't have to be someone that big as far as, you know, like a cosmic thing. Yeah. It doesn't really matter as long as it's a significant bad guy. And it'd be interesting to see where they take DLCs or how often, you know, do they do updates like kind of like a Fortnite thing where it's like every week there's gonna be like new content dropping, new different types of missions to do for different, you know, players.
Yeah, I don't know.
And, you know, they're saying they're going to keep adding to the roster, which is exciting. You know, what does that mean? You know, how small of a character am I gonna be able to play as like Black Cat? Am I gonna be able to play as Spider-Man? Like, what am I gonna be able to play as?
I mean, it's going to remain to be seen. I would be banking on some kind of X-Men type expansion, especially with the newly acquired rights, if not maybe Fantastic Four, especially if you have a big bad like Doctor Doom.
Fantastic Four is perfect
into play
because this game is made for you can only play with 4 people.
That would be great.
4 people together. Yeah, so Fantastic Four, there's literally 4 of them. So
that would be really fun, especially like a special mission or something to do with 4 people.
The only thing about like playing as Fantastic Four is kind of like if you do have to play as it, who are you going to want to play? Like, not
nobody's
for nothing.
I don't want to be Mr.
Fantastic. Invisible Woman's maybe second. Thing,
no,
Human Torch would be cool. I'd want to be Human Torch or Invisible Woman.
I would want to be Invisible Woman too, but like everyone would be fighting over not being Mr. Fantastic, probably. Unfortunately,
he might be really fun to play. Like his moves, he just might be kind of
his gameplay might be good. Might change things, but you know, I think this Avengers game is going to give us the kind of game we wanted. You know, back when Ultimate Alliance was around, because
yes.
I mean, we were younger when the Ultimate Alliance, Ultimate 2, and of course, you know, was it X-Men? What was
X-Men Legends?
Legends and Apocalypse? It was
just X-Men Legends Apocalypse.
X-Men Legends, or whatever they were. But there were those top-down kind of Diablo-style games, and like, you know, when you're younger and you don't really know what you're looking at, you're almost expecting a game to be that kind of third-person, you know, beat 'em up, and like, I think if the gameplay is good, like this is the kind of good superhero game like we've been waiting for forever. Because, I mean, besides the Spider-Man games, what have we really had?
Really nothing.
Nothing.
And I hope it plays a lot similar to the Spider-Man game. It'd be kind of cool if they could somehow, I know it's not going to happen, somehow incorporate, you know, one into the other, but that'll never happen.
Yeah, no.
But it's very interesting and it's exciting. I'm assuming you can't play as Spider-Man, though, in this game. Because there's probably a rights thing, right? Like they'll never have an expansion for Spider-Man because the rights to Spider-Man for a video game wouldn't go with this. Am I wrong?
That's hard to say because look at Ultimate Alliance. Spider-Man's in Ultimate Alliance.
True.
So why would that be the case? You know, I don't know. I don't know how the rights.
Well, then maybe they would do a game together.
They could have Spider-Man in it. I just think it can't be a Spider-Man game. Maybe that's what it is. Because Ultimate Alliance has X-Men. They have Avengers. They have Spider-Man. You know, but they're characters. You know.
I don't want to spoil anything for the Spider-Man game for you, so I'm just keep my mouth shut.
Let's switch to Ultimate Alliance because Ultimate Alliance 3 is finally coming out after
oh my gosh,
years.
10 years or whatever it's been. It's been too long.
Oh my gosh.
Too long.
And it's a Switch exclusive. What a move on Nintendo's part to nail that down.
Nintendo right now is literally sitting back, drinking whatever they want to drink. They literally I've said this before, they have the market cornered. And they have the market cornered even more after all these announcements because Microsoft and PlayStation are both sitting here looking at Stadia like, oh my gosh, we have to try to like compete with this. And Nintendo's just sitting there like, yeah, well, we have Mario, we have Pokemon, we have Marvel Ultimate Alliance. We have all these games that are exclusive that literally Stadia can't get. It doesn't matter what they do. They can't get these games. Mm-hmm. Nintendo's console is safe no matter what. PlayStation and Microsoft aren't necessarily safe. Their numbers could get hurt really bad from Stadia. Nintendo could care less. Mm-hmm. Their stock's gone up since the announcement of Stadia. Yeah, and unfortunately, GameStop's actually plummeted after Stadia's announcement, just so you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I never had faith that GameStop was going to stick around, especially with the way everyone's pushing non-tangible games. Forget about just streaming, just buying them via download.
They dropped like 40% or something,
yeah.
I want to say.
I mean,
that's ridiculous.
The only reason GameStop's still around is because ThinkGeek bought them. And like the only way they're going to stick around is if they really push gaming products as opposed to just worrying about these trade. That's why ThinkGeek could save them, but I mean, like we're gonna have to see because like a lot of them have their Pokemon centers in there now, and they're selling Pokemon Center exclusive things.
And I think like the big thing that at this point might hurt them too is there's too many of them. They're everywhere. There's like there'll be one in a mall and then right outside a mall, and it's ridiculous. Like you guys don't need that many, and then now with this, I mean, unless you're gonna tell me, hey, we can give you a discount on your Stadia games that you're going to buy a code from us that you go in and enter in on your computer. But that's
what a pain. How much gas? Yeah. How much money are you saving me because I have to drive out to you? But like the way they're positioned too, especially for those of you in the Phoenix area, you know that Peoria has one at the Arrowhead Mall. There's one literally outside the mall, like probably a mile from it.
Yep.
And then another mile up from there, there's one off of Union Hills. There's 3 within probably 3 miles.
Yep.
But then you go 10 miles west of there's none in Surprise. But then you go down to Goodyear, there's one every couple miles. You got the one in Australia Falls, the one on Dysart. And then if you go a little more toward Buckeye, there's even another one there. Like, why are they clusters?
I don't know. This doesn't make sense.
I think so, because the people who are consuming from these different ones, like they can just go to one, like they'll be okay.
I mean, they have exclusive, pops, but I ain't saving a company. Sorry.
It's not.
Unless they get exclusive games. Like, I don't know what, I don't know what they're going to do.
You know what? They're exclusive pops, like depending on what you're collecting, unless you're collecting video game pops, which is mostly what they handle, which is understandable for sure. I don't have very many GameStop exclusive pops, like maybe a couple, especially like some of the shared exclusives that they happen to get their hands on.
Yeah, I don't. The only thing that might save them is if they try really hard to push more gaming exclusives. Like, hey, if you buy this game through GameStop, you get, early access, or you get this DLC or whatever it is. That's the only thing I could see really
or maybe
trying to save
products, because like I feel like we're in this age now, like I'm kind of disappointed in the pre-order and bundle incentives.
They're dying now. There's nothing really there anymore.
I don't understand why, because I always look, especially for franchises I love like Pokemon, I try to see like, is there an exclusive figure or something?
Nintendo doesn't really do that because they don't need to.
They don't need to, but aren't they losing out on money? Because like I look for that every time. I have not bought a Switch yet because I am waiting for them to do a Pokemon Switch. That's not the Pikachu and Eevee one. I want one that's an actual, main series, Pokemon game Switch. And of course, if they don't, I'm going to be really disappointed that I've just been not buying a Switch.
Yeah. It's funny. I've been on Reddit and so many people after this E3 have been like, I bought a Switch. Because everyone knows that the best part of E3 was Nintendo.
Oh yeah,
It wasn't even close.
I look at that Pokemon. Some of that gameplay looks awesome. When I first saw that they were doing, you can see the Pokemon in the grass. Like I was skeptical, and I was like, like I want to be surprised. And I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and he's like, like it's kind of cool. I'm like, yeah, but like I want to be surprised. Like I would be okay with it if at least sometimes it was random. And sure enough, we got that. Sometimes it is going to be a random like Russell or the exclamation mark. Like how realistic is that? Like
it's awesome.
If you were in the Pokemon world, you would be able to see the wild Pokemon, or sometimes not, and they would sneak up on you.
Yeah, it was really good. The whole thing was really unique. I love that they implemented the weather thing, which is really cool. They took some things from Pokemon Go, it felt like.
And definitely, especially with that whole raid aspect.
The whole raid aspect, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I understand.
I'm not either.
To a point, I get it.
I'm just glad that they justified it with saying it's just this exclusive weather events phenomenon thing to this region. I'm like, okay, that's enough of an excuse that this hasn't been around yet.
Yeah, fair enough. Although the only thing I will say about Pokemon is I feel like they keep just adding this new, different dynamic every time, where I feel like you just don't really need to do it like they did the Mega Evolution,
and the Z moves,
and then now you're doing this thing. And is this how you're going to explain why Tentacool was so big in the Pokemon series, or how big,
or the island of the giant Pokemon?
Well, that was just mechanical, but
that's right.
But the Dragonite was huge. Like, why was that Dragonite in that one episode so big?
That was an island of the giant Pokemon.
No, that was the Dragonite coming back to its master, and its master died, or whatever it was.
Weird.
But it was like, why was that Dragonite so big? It doesn't make any sense. He's not that big.
No, it doesn't.
And then now I guess you can rationalize that. I don't know. But as far after the raid, whatever.
Or like the Detective Pikachu movie.
The raid was just for them to make it somewhat cooperative. So I guess that's kind of cool. The wild thing I loved. The weird thing is, though, they were doing like this whistling thing. And sometimes it would attract the Pokemon, and sometimes like the Pokemon would just kind of like go away. So I don't know what exactly, when you're walking around the wild area, what the whistling is going to do to certain Pokemon. So, because they did it a couple of times, but is it going to? It made they ran into a Machoke, and he kind of just like charged at him. So I guess maybe certain Pokemon have different reactions to it.
I mean, that makes sense. Like, I mean, if you look at like hunters and stuff, you have different calls and different things happen. Like that, I think that's interesting.
I think it's an interesting dynamic. The bicycle being able to all of a sudden go on water was kind of cool, I guess. I mean, I felt like it was kind of like a easy cop out way almost to do it, but that's fine.
I don't know. I have to think about how I feel about it, because like, as much as it sucks to be bogged down by the HM slaves, as they are lovingly dubbed, by having to have a Pokemon that has surf or strength or whatever, waterfall and cut.
But I think they did a fine job when they did Pokemon Sun and Moon with, you just have a Pokemon that show like you unlock the ability to fly, and when you call a Pokemon and it just comes and picks you up, and that's it. Yeah. You don't need to have a Pokemon that has to know fly and has to know all these moves, and it's just like, great, I have a slot that's just a useless Pokemon.
Yeah, and I guess that's fair. I think it was more nostalgia that was kind of making me sad that it was something different. And it's kind of cool that the different regions kind of have, their own unique little twists on things. I was
hoping there was going to be like, I would ride a Lapras around or something. That'd be really cool.
We don't know. Like,
it might. Yeah, we don't know. The only thing that was a little disappointing from the Pokemon, though, was the fact that they said that they were not going to have all the Pokemon. They haven't said how
that is really upsetting.
How many they will have. They didn't say if it's just going to be like 100 plus with the new ones or what have you. But I really was hoping to catch all 900 whatever it is.
I think the biggest reason why it's upsetting is because they went ahead and announced it's not Pokemon Bank, what's it called? Pokemon Home thing, where you can transfer all your Pokemon to this kind of central hub, and you can even make trades on your phone and stuff, and you could transfer from the new, Sword and Shield games, Pokemon Go, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, but you can only transfer Pokemon that are available to obtain in Sword and Shield back to it. So I don't understand why they would implement that limitation. But if we look back to some of the last generation games, I believe they did something similar, and it's like that they didn't have all the Pokemon available until the second set in the generation. So even though we may only get 400 to 600 within
Which
Sword
is
and
fine.
Shield,
If they do 400 to 600, I'm fine. As long as it's not 100 or 200, like I'd be disappointed if it was
I think what it is going to be is between Sword and Shield and whatever the next set is, so like maybe let's just say their Diamond and Pearl remakes. I think between those two, they'll have all 900 or whatever it is.
We saw some obviously new Pokemon. We saw some first generation Pokemon, and we saw some second generation Pokemon, if I'm not correct,
I would be willing to bet that any Pokemon in Let's Go Pikachu or Eevee is transferable for sure.
Yeah.
So that's Gen 1, might be Gen 2. I haven't played it. I'm not sure if it's beyond the first 150. Is it?
I think so.
Oh. Well,
it's just yellow version.
I think we're due for some Diamond and Pearl remakes. I think a lot of the Pokemon that are going to be missing is going to be between Gen 3 and 5.
That's to me that's okay. I just want more. I just want, like you said, 400 to 600. That's fine. I think that would be a good.
I'm sure it will
and
be.
If they could always, it's getting a lot of backlash for it, so they might change their minds maybe down the road or do an update that adds more, which is very possible.
They're gonna sell this game either way, but I think the Pokemon are looking good. Like I remember when they were unveiling Sun and Moon Pokemon, like I had mixed feelings about them, and then Sun and Moon, they also unveiled like probably one of my least favorite Pokemon ever, which is a Alolan Dugtrio. Like that thing is stupid.
Yeah.
It's Dugtrio with hair.
I'm not a fan.
I don't get it. And like they tried to, they said it's the, that whatever kind of like lava grass nonsense that makes it look like that, but like it still just looks like a cheap boy band. And like it's a terrible design.
Isn't that what they did though on the TV show?
Yeah, they did make it a boy band. Yeah. But if you read the Pokedex entry, like the little Alolan Diglett hairs or that lava, it was incredibly stupid. And it's such a stupid looking Pokemon. But these Pokemon that they've all unveiled, like to me, like they're Pokemon, and that Raven is already one of my favorite Pokemon. I don't even care. That I love that Raven.
See the Corgi? Everyone's going nuts.
Everyone's freaking out over the Corgi. Yeah, the Corgi's okay, but I love Ravens, and I can't believe we haven't had like a proper Raven like this.
It's funny that when they like where was it? Is it going to be 900? They said 9 something 9.
Did they say? I'm not.
I thought they said it was 900 and change.
We should be in the 900s.
But anyway, it's funny how we're this far, and because like most of the Pokemon are based off of some sort of animal that we're getting things like a Raven. It's like, oh, I guess you guys haven't done that, and it's very interesting that like, how many things that they really haven't done, and it's kind of crazy to think.
There's a lot of animals.
I know there's a lot, but it's just you would think, oh, we probably already had one of those.
But how many things have they done several times? There's a ton of electric mice.
That's
just alone. And this sheep thing, like we already have Mareep and Ampharos, and we did, there was Tauros and Buffalon. How many times are we going to do? I know it's a buffalo and a bull, but it's so similar. So I guess, we've only had Murkrow.
And I feel like we've had a lot of type of pigeons. We had Pidgey, and then we had
Pidgey, which is it a pigeon? It's kind of a pigeon. It doesn't look like a pigeon, but then they did.
Almost looks like a finch. Like a big finch.
Or it almost looks like, Pidgey is based on a pigeon, right? But then in the New York region, was it the Unova region that had that pigeon looking one? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Or is that Gen 4 now? I can't even.
I don't know. It's kind of blurred. Those like middle generations are kind of like mixed together. Like where like white and X and Y, and X and Y and white and black. Or White and Black 1 and 2, those were like, eh.
I think Black and White were underrated.
I didn't care for them that much.
Here's the thing. The first ones were okay. The second one, it was hard to get through because like, how is this Black and White 2? It's just Black and White, but I'm playing it different. And I know like, all the second sets have been like that. I'm like, no, not really. Because like Crystal was a lot of fun and Yellow was a lot of fun. And, even Emerald had its own twists. So I don't know. I think it wasn't different enough. But overall, though, Nintendo had a very strong presentation, especially with games like Ultimate Alliance.
Ultimate Alliance was so cool.
And they announced my favorite character, which I almost hate saying now because the little clip they showed of him, he was making tacos, and I was just incredibly disappointed. Like the taco jokes like need to stop, and I don't get it. I'm excited Deadpool has stuff. Like I was collecting Deadpool comics before there was even Deadpool t-shirts. I remember Deadpool t-shirts did not exist. And now I cannot keep up on buying them all because I'm trying to be a completionist on collecting Deadpool stuff, but it's just become such a joke that it's hard to even want to buy all of them, especially like when it's silly nonsense.
Right. Yeah. They're kind of just going way overboard on the jokes and Deadpool with the Deadpool stuff. But outside of the Deadpool, everything else looks great in the game. Everything looks classic. The gameplay, when they first announced it and they showed that like trailer, I was like, man, it looks like, I'm really excited, but at the same time, like, maybe it's like the graphics are really bad. It just didn't seem very polished from the trailer. I was kind of worried. I'm like, well, maybe it's just because it's a Nintendo game. The graphics aren't great on Nintendo. But then when they showed it at E3, it looked amazing. It looked so polished and clean, and the storyline seems great.
I think it's really fun.
The storyline's really interesting.
Now we're getting a different kind of Infinity Stone story, like seeing Magneto hold what assuming is the Power Stone. Like, how interesting! Like, I really want to see where this is going.
The gameplay that they showed for the first 20 minutes or so of the game, where they're at the X Mansion and everything, was super cool. Fighting the Sentinels seemed awesome. They did a really good job with the characters' synergy. When you had certain players together, they would have certain combos if you push a certain button at the same time.
Yeah.
And then they kept the classic thing that I loved. It was like, little stupid things that Nintendo does and they did this in the old Ultimate Alliance game where if you had a certain, group of 4 people, they always named it.
They did?
Like on the bottom of it, it'll be like, like if you had all girls, it would be like, the fatal females or whatever. It would be like different things. They would actually give them like different names.
Really?
And for this, they did the same thing where like if you had a certain combo, it would give it like a little like.
Where? In the bottom of the screen?
Like in the bottom of the screen, it would have like a little like nickname for that kind of team. So it's kind of cool that you could swap one character out for another, and it it's just like little stupid things like that I enjoy.
Yeah.
But the game looks really cool. All the costumes are classic. It just looks like so much fun. And the fact that you can in single player, you can have instead of it being that aerial view, you get that more of a third person view is really cool. And something I didn't think about until I was reading the description of the game when I was trying to see the pre-order stuff, if there was anything for the pre-order for this game. That's a little disappointing, but it's obviously understandable. Is if you're playing the game cooperatively, you cannot use the heroic mode view, which is the zoomed in view, because obviously someone has to see their other character. So if you're playing
there's no split screen.
There's no split screen. So if you're playing it with somebody, you have to do the aerial view. But that's only if you're playing it locally. If you're playing it online with a friend, then you both can do the heroic mode. It's not a big deal.
Interesting.
But it's only if you're doing that locally. That's what it said in the description. So that's kind of like, but this game looks awesome. I'm super excited about it. But it just means I probably have to buy another Switch and just play it like that. But it looks super good and it's super exciting. And the good thing is, one of the people that helped make this game was an editor at Marvel for like 10 years. So it's not like you're gonna get they probably did something stupid with a character. It seems like they did a really good job with each of the characters.
No, the Ultimate Alliance games have been pretty good about everything. Like I think it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be probably one of the greatest Marvel games ever. Also coming out of Nintendo's presentation was the highly anticipated Animal Crossing,
super cool,
and Luigi's Mansion, and as well as welcoming all kinds of
Breath of the Wild
M-rated games. Yes, and of course the Breath of the Wild sequel, which I want to play Breath of the Wild now. Just
Breath of the Wild sequel. Like when they showed it, I was like, oh, they're going to do an expansion, and then they said working on sequel, whatever they said, whatever the verbiage was, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. That was super cool. And there's a lot of, just off that little like 10-second video, there's so much speculation going around about who that person was. Is it Ganondorf or whatever the case is? It just looks. It's super cool. I'm glad they did that. They knocked it out of Nintendo knocked it out of the park with this E3.
Well, I never played Luigi's Mansion. Have you?
I've played it when I was younger. When it first came out, I played that for the GameCube, and it was very difficult. But I was really, really young when that game came out, so I kind of got stuck like not too far into it, and then came back and played it and it was fine.
Yeah.
It's a great game, great concept. Honestly, this Luigi's Mansion looks great. I love that, again, local co-op.
Yeah.
With the,
I hope we're coming back to that a little more, like overall in the industry.
I think a lot of people were. I feel like a lot of people were complaining, and I feel like some of the game companies are kind of listening. At least Nintendo is. And if they keep doing this, we're putting local co-op games and having their own exclusives, they're going to go really far. But Luigi's Mansion looks good. That they made the environment a little more destructible. They make you play with more than one person. It just looks so much. It looks like so much fun. I don't know. You've never played it, so do you feel like you want it? Because if you want to play it after seeing it, then they did a good job.
No, I don't, and I don't care to. The only thing I thought was weird was the second Luigi character was this green blob. So between the ghost hunting and this green blob thing, I just felt like it was so Ghostbusters that it was kind of weird.
It's kind of like a knockoff, yeah.
But what if all they had to do was not make that Luigi green? It would be a lot less Ghostbusters knockoffy.
Well, to be fair, they only made it green because he's green. Because there's other Luigis, like there's pink. There's like it showed like the multiplayer games. There's pink ones, and then there's like a pink Luigi because that Luigi's pink, so you can differentiate the Luigis.
Oh,
so it's more of like that's his color than I think anything else.
Yes, I don't know. Those were never my cup of tea.
But as far as the other Nintendo games go,
Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing looks pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of Animal Crossing. Played, the mobile app a little bit. I've played a couple of games for like a couple hours. That's really about it, just to play with Alicia.
Yeah.
But what really makes this game interesting is, again, it's cooperative.
Yeah.
It's a local co-op, which now will make me like before it was kind of difficult. Like if you played the game, you could play with somebody else. But had to have different games, and you wouldn't really see each other. It was just like, hey, I can drop this off to you, and you could just gift people things. It was it was cool, but it wasn't great. This is completely different, and they added new dynamics to it where you can like chop down trees for wood, almost like Minecraft. Like you get resources, and instead of having to just get bells, I should say, bells, which is like a currency to buy different items. Now you can actually like get the resources out in the wild, which is pretty cool, instead of walking around to pick the weeds just because you want the place to look nice and people will complain. It does affect the dynamic of the game if you don't pick the weeds, but now it's you pick the weeds to get something. There's more to it than just I'm picking weeds. Or so I think they did a really good job with that game.
I would be interested in trying it.
Yeah, I would definitely try it. I'm gonna get it because it's one of Alicia's favorite games, which is my wife. But yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be good. I think that pretty much wraps it up, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about.
A couple things, I guess. I'll go over a couple of things that kind of surprised me. One of these games, Watch Dogs 3 Legion. I've played Watch Dogs games. I've tried them in the past, and I really, 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 really do not care for any Watch Dog game.
Yeah.
And it's not even so much the gameplay. I just really didn't care about the story or the characters. It just seems so lame. I'm sorry. But this one is just I just love the concept. It's about, London getting taken over by, some sort of corporation or their government, and they're going around with like these surveillance drones that can just like all of a sudden try shooting you and killing you. And what is really cool about the game is, you have like your main characters, but you walk around the street with like, everything's supposed to be like super technology, everything's about technology with Watch Dogs. So you have like this cell phone thing or whatever you want to call it. And you're walking around, and it kind of gives you like a profile of everyone that you walk by. And it'll say like, gives you like a little backstory of some random, like anyone that you're walking by. And it'll say like, okay, this person does like kickboxing and is really good in hand-to-hand combat. You get plus 20% in that. You're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then you walk by another person and be like, this person's gets 40% damage to drones, and he was like an MIT guy. So like there's all these there's like this old lady who is actually ends up being a former MI6 agent, who's like everyone has like their different bonuses and their backstories, and you could literally play the game with just random people that you just see on the street. And that dynamic is kind of, to me, really interesting. And to me, it kind of takes what I don't like about Watch Dogs, which is the characters that I just couldn't stand any of them. And you just make it that like I could literally play the game as anybody, and it just seems like an interesting concept that's pretty cool.
No, I understand, and that's probably why I was never like really attracted to any of those games. Yeah, I think that's about all the time we have for today. That was E3 in a real nutshell. I mean, there's stuff that we haven't even touched on yet.
Yeah, there's games like Outer Worlds, Rainbow Six Quarantine, Gears of War 5. There's different games out there that, you know, to touch on, but none of them were really... We're just getting the big ones out of the way.
Cutting this down to about an hour.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you all listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please, if you do enjoy this podcast, share it with your friends. Word of mouth, really goes a long way. But thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening.